Hello. Hello and hello. How are you? Okay, so I am just recording some things that recording myself talk just on some things because I believe I got some shit to say. I've absorbed a lot of things in my lifetime and throughout this incarnation, and I think that there's lots of people who could resonate with what some of the things I have to say. Not everything, of course, but with some of the things I have to say. And so sort of exploring this new idea of like a podcast or like a weekly check-in with the masses, a weekly collective in a sense. But anyway, so within my own life, as I got on TikTok and spoke about, I'm dealing with some themes. I'm dealing with one of which, knowing when to quit, knowing when I have had enough, knowing my own limitations. I'm sure that's part of it also. It's been a theme in the recent past, but more so specifically, knowing when to walk away from something and the challenges that sort of arise with that, especially if it's something that you hold near and dear to yourself, something of value to you, something that's important, whether that's a relationship, a job, career choice. I guess it could be anything that's important to you, something you've stuck with for a while, but the importance of knowing when, and when is the right time, because in life, there is no rule book per se. I like to say astrology is sort of our guidebook, but there is no book really telling us how to, not how to make choices, because I think there's a lot of sources out there telling you how to do things, but in a sense of telling you what to do step by step, and it being, something that everyone can follow, like a template for a whole collective of people to follow. It's rare that you find something that really will work for specific things, like if you're going to tell somebody when it's time to leave a relationship. That's a broad subject. You can't really, you can give people tips and tricks and hacks and things that have worked for you, but the things that ultimately boil down to it being our own choices to make is what I'm speaking of. And that's a lot of stuff. It's all, I realized as that came out of my mouth, that kind of sounded ridiculous, because I think everything is our choice to make. But when it really boils down to you have to make this choice, no one's going to make it for you. I sort of miss the days of being a child, being 18, under 18 per se, and when, there was something a big decision to be made, something important, knowing that it was taken care of by someone else. So many kids in today's society want to just grow up and just be grown, and they got everything figured out, and good for them. Good for them. There's some out there that really do know, hey, this is the choice I want to make, and I'm sure of it, and I'm going to leap with faith, and I encourage that. I do. Because, you could be the opposite side of that and be stuck in the indecision and not have so many choices, or have so much doubt, or have so much side chatter around you in your community, in your family, in your friend group, telling you all these conflicting things that it's difficult to make a decision for yourself. Or you could just be more inclined to struggle with making decisions due to a number of things. And I think that's, one of the aspects of my situation is there's a lot of things that went into that. I grew up sort of with everything being decided for me, not really having a choice in most matters. And, that sort of fostered into an adulthood of sometimes and a lot of times, but it's become easier now that I'm aware of it, but a lot of times struggling to make that choice. Getting wiser as the days go, of course, but and like I said, I am more aware of that facet of my personality now, but just being aware of something doesn't always just make it go away, or doesn't always make it easier. Sometimes, awareness, they say, is the first step, and yes, it is, but it can still be a length of time where before the clarity or anything further than just the awareness occurs. And so in that amount of space, in that space and time where you've just got the awareness, it doesn't really feel like having the awareness is doing a damn thing, besides frustrating you further, because now you're aware of it, but you don't know what the fuck to do to solve it. it's like having the answer to the formula and you don't have the formula, or it can be a hot mess. Sometimes I think it's better to not be aware, and that's just out of my frustrations of not having the answers. But specifically with, as I'm 38 years old, I'm on level 38 in life, as I call it, 38 and a half really, entering a stage in my life where I'm becoming comfortable with making decisions without having an executive yes. Now, I say this now, I will always be the type of person who believes in you can get those divine answers. You can get those signals from the universe, from source, from your faith, from, synchronicities and signs around you. You can absolutely request that and get those little confirmations from the universe. But a lot of times, and there's periods of times where you are disconnected from that. You're disconnected from, and it seems like you're alone. If you're one to follow your spirit guides or your spirit team, or say you just feel like you have a grandparent or something on the other side looking out for you, there are going to be periods of time where you don't hear from them. There's a block, whatever the reason is, it's more quiet, and you are left to figure it out on your own, or however you choose to go along your decision-making process. But you can sense and feel like you are alone in that. And those are the periods of times where I'm talking about, where it's like you have to make a decision, because not making a choice is also a choice, and therefore you're staying stagnant. You're staying in whatever situation you don't really want to be in even longer, which is, I feel like that's the most frustrating point, knowing that you have this choice you can make, knowing that you need to make a choice, because there's not really, it's a fine line that I'm discovering. I'm sort of like still analyzing it myself. Like, can we really always count on, I want to believe that the universe is constantly in communication with us and always telling us signs and synchronicities and giving us answers to things and helping us along the way, of course. But at the same time, it's like, I equally know that there are times in my life specifically that I am meant to feel more alone. I'm meant to rely on myself, my choices, my intuition, my decision-making properties. And that's what I'm supposed to do, to build that trust in myself, because either in a past life, this current life for sure, I have relied too heavily on other people to make choices for me. I've gotten comfortable in that role of like just letting people figure things out for me. And, resentments can come of that, because, you're giving your power away to an outside source. You're relying on some outside entity of some sort to give you the answers for your own life. And I grew up religious, and there was a comfort in a sense that came from like giving things over to God, or giving things up to your higher power. And that's slowly evolved for me, because I feel like I'm in a period of my life where God is, from one week to the next, God means something different to me. For a while I was like, there is a God, there is this ultimate divine source that knows all, knows more, knows better than me, can help me, direct me and guide me and teach me, and, give everything over to that higher power. And then there was a period of time where I was like, there is no God, there is none of that. There's absolutely none of it. And I didn't really know what I believed in. And I didn't really even care to elaborate on what was in between. And now I'm in a period of my life where I believe that God, in a sense, is sort of our higher self. It's our collective higher selves. It's us at the highest level of consciousness, just, most evolved, I guess, and being able to tap into that energy, because time is not linear, and it exists all around us, past, present, and future. So if you can rely on a more evolved version of yourself having the answer, it's like being a child. Like, you may not have known why something happened, but, fast forward into your adult years, you suddenly have the answers. So as a child, your God could have been yourself as an adult, because you're getting the answer from something wiser, something more evolved than you, but it is still a facet of you. And that is what I feel like is sort of like I'm mulling through right now, is like, what is God for me? But that's my own personal thing. And, and I think that's the whole beauty of the journey, is figuring that out. But it's difficult when you are sort of like in that limbo of, you used to make decisions based off of this, other people, a supreme being sort of waiting around for God, show me a sign, or God, put this in my path. And I'm wondering to myself, is that still okay to rely upon? Is it still okay to say, hey, I am looking to this divine power, this source, this entity that knows more than me, to give me a clear sign. Like, it's like the burning bush in the Bible, or, like tangible things like that, that will stand out and let you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is your answer. Like, I miss those days. I miss the days of clear, direct answers, not the vagueness, not the, was that God? Was that indigestion? What was that feeling? It's like, it can be a struggle. And I think it's a lot of people who maybe grew up similarly to me might understand that struggle of, it's just hard to, I wouldn't say hard, because I'm trying to watch on how I phrase things. It can be a struggle at times. It can be daunting to know when to rely on a higher power, because in a sense that feels like you're giving up your power, but also knowing that everything is a choice and you have to take power over your own life. It's hard to be in the middle of that. It's hard to be in the middle of a lot of different knowledge and a lot of different states of consciousness and awareness, and be able to sort through it and find out what's right for you. And I believe ultimately, we're meant to rely on our own intuition and trust that, because if you can't trust your own inner guidance, you're forever trusting something else outside of you, that nothing knows you as well as you. You're all you got. These things still stand. Like, nobody knows you as well as you. You're in your own head all the time. You are you. So anything else is just sort of, going off their best guess. There's a lot of things that can sort of cloud that perception if you are going to rely on an outside source. There's a lot of things that can cloud your truth. And so that's where I'm existing right now, is where I'm trying to figure out when to move on from something. I'm working this job where without saying too much, I feel limited. I feel like there's not really a lot of growth opportunities, and I feel like my personality and my morals and values don't really mesh well with what I'm supposed to be representing. And that's frustrating, because some people can just have work any job and it's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. But I am the type of person that I like a sense of family in my work. I like a sense of we know each other's children's names, and how's your grandma doing? It's family. It's as close as that can be. And I realize family is highly dysfunctional. So, I don't always want it to be like family. And I'm realizing that there's a balance in that, because then just everybody's business, and there's drama and gossip and all the bullshit that comes with family. So in a sense, I'm trying to find that even balance in my workplace of where I feel comfortable and I feel like I can rely on the people I work with. I feel valued. I feel like I admire and look up to the people I work with. I feel like I'm learning things from them. They're learning things from me. I feel like we're pouring into one another. We're uplifting one another. We are there for one another. And, some might say oh, that's a pipe dream. That's something that it's non-existent. You can't find that anywhere. And I've always been the type of person, call it naive or not, I believe that those things are possible, because if ultimately we can create our own reality, if that's a thought I can think of, then therefore it can be possible. Now, it just might take some time to get there, but I believe that I can have that. And, along the way, it does lead to more frustrations when you think you've discovered certain things and it turns out not to be the case. And that comes with having expectations and not really knowing people how you thought you did. But it's all a learning process. And I'm aware of that, and I'm okay with that, but it doesn't take away from the frustrations at times. And so I'm in a position where I'm like, do I walk away? And in these times when we're at a period of, there's an impasse and we don't really know which direction to take, people often say, weigh your pros and cons, make a list of your pros and cons. And that's helpful at times. It is. And, if I'm going to sit here and pull out my paper and brainstorm and all of that and draw a list of my pros and cons, the thing that seems to be on the cons of leaving is just obviously a stop in income. There's going to be that period between this job and the next job where no income is coming in, unless I choose to do some side hustle or make some little money some other type of way. That gap of steady employment is going to create a gap in finances. And I feel like there's a lot of things that influence the level of importance that has in my life. There was a period of time where I'm learning to sort of back away from my attachment to material things. And I'm realizing as I get older and as I go through things, that these material things are so fleeting. And so that for me, they don't hold enough value for me to place so much importance over them in my life. I don't need to have the newest this and that. I don't have to have this up to date or the newest that or whatever. Like if I feel emotionally fulfilled, if I feel content, if it has value to me, I feel like that's all that should be important. And so in that, I've been able to let go of a lot of attachments, and I know it's going to be a process because I'm still, you get Black Friday and, these ads sent to your email box, and you're at the store in the checkout line, and you have all these temptations and things, and oh, so-and-so got this, and this is a cool gadget that would make your life easier. Sure, there's a lot of temptations out there to go for things, and honestly, I get it, because in life, especially if you don't have a lot to immediately look forward to, and life is just, it's not necessarily bad, but it's mediocre in a sense. Like, not to say I'm not grateful, not to say I'm not blessed, and I'm not happy about where I'm at, but there can be redundancy in anything, and too much of a routine can cause one to feel like, it's having those little moments where you get little things for yourself or whatever, whether it's treating yourself to a coffee in the morning or whatever, like, it can kind of uplift you. And, but as with anything, too much of a good thing, that adds up. It adds up, and it can take away from what's important if I'm not careful. And I'm trying to pay attention to my spending habits and what I'm attaching my worth to, because, just because I don't feel presently fulfilled in an area of life doesn't mean I need to go out and buy something to create a temporary fulfillment that's going to pass. And then there's this hole in my bank account where I'm wishing like, hey, I wish I still had this money. It's like those treat yourself moments add up. And then it's like, oh, well, I didn't really need to treat myself all those times. So, like I said, I'm just speaking from personal experience and what's working and not working for me. But maybe someone can resonate with that, and I'm trying to figure out, besides money, if, what things are weighing on me to keep me in this job, what things are important to me to hold me in this place. And money is repeatedly the main thing that's coming up. And then I'm thinking, I'm blessed right now to be in a position in my life where I have a little bit of liberty as far as like bills are concerned. We all sort of at times let certain things go, or like I'm not going to lose my vehicle. I'm not going to lose a place to stay, is what I'm trying to say. Like, there's some freedom, a little bit, of course, within reason, that I can have right now. And so it might be a good time, essentially, if I'm worried about finances, like, this would be the time to do it, considering I'm blessed to sort of be in a position where certain things are not as dire at this moment, and they're caught up or whatever else. And so I'm like, okay, so maybe I do just walk away from it. Now there's also that sense of regret, like, what if? And if you're like me, that's a big one. It's like you make a decision and it's almost like being afraid of, like, what if something pops up right when I make that decision? And ultimately, that's something I have to make peace with. Things could, I doubt it at this point. I feel like things could ultimately turn around for the better in my current job right when I decide to leave. And you know what? It still wouldn't change the fact that I needed to make an executive decision for myself due to feeling like my happiness and my sense of worth and fulfillment was being jeopardized, and making a proactive stance to do something about that instead of waiting for outside circumstances to sort of fall in my lap. And in the past, the universe has shown me that when I make these active choices and I stand firm in my own intuition and gut decision, the universe will open things up for me. Sometimes the universe just wants to see if you, in a sense, have the balls to make that decision. Do you have what it takes to rely on the universe, on that unknowing, and step out into the unknown and do something for yourself, though? Like, I'm not just quitting this job to just test the universe. No, I feel like quitting because I feel like I'm not happy anymore when I go to work. I feel like I'm limited in what I can do. I feel like it's not for what the mission of this job was supposed to represent. I feel like it's not representing that. And I feel like the people I just don't mesh with them. I don't. And I miss that. And I feel like I need that in my sense of work and in my position of this company. I need to feel like I have people I can rely on and who have my back, and we have this similar mission in mind. And I'm just seeing a lot of people's true colors, and that's fine. Show your true colors, show them. However, I am going to make decisions based off of, what was it, Maya Angelou, who said, when people show you who you are, believe them. And, I understand what she's saying in that sense. You absolutely, anyone can change, and anyone can, make a mistake and think that one thing one day and then realize and have a moment of awareness and clarity that they perhaps made a wrong decision, and then choose the better choice for them. This can absolutely happen. But there's a lot of cases where I see what she's saying, and like some people are just who they are, and to constantly sit there and wait on someone to show you that they are not going to be a different person, like they're steadfast in who they are, is honestly a waste of time. And like, who's it really helping? It's not helping me. Like, I am choosing to see people as who they are because this is who they keep repeatedly showing me they are. I think for myself, I've given people ample chances and opportunities to show me differently. It has not occurred, and therefore I feel like I'm at a point where I need to move on, and waiting for people to change is only like relying on someone else to choose my destiny and what's best for me. And I do not want to hit that car. All right, let's go. So yeah. Tell me if this resonates with you. Where are you at in your life? What are you going through? Is it similar? Is it not? What are the things that go through your mind that you deal with when you are in a position where you need to make a decision? What are the things that you weigh as your options to help you in that decision-making process? Do you rely on other people? Do you rely on some sort of internal guidance system? Do you rely on faith? What is your formula for helping you make a decision that's right for you?